Greetings and assalamu alaikum. I'm Hajj Abdul-Malik Bey, and I want to welcome you back to part two of my take on Othello, the Moor of Venice by William Shakespeare. Looking specifically at Othello, the lead character, the protagonist of the story of the drama, and just what his symbolic, literary, metaphorical significance might be on a larger geopolitical historical scale, as well as how his identity connects to our people here in America today. So without further ado, I'm going to set the tone, hopefully by reading a monologue from Othello, which takes place near the very end when Othello's about to take his own life after having taken the life of his wife and his true friend Cassio. He was duped into believing that they had betrayed him in some terrible way. And he's also taken the life of his true enemy, who he had perceived as a friend, who was actually a very shrewd, evil manipulator who, was responsible for the poisoning of Othello's mind. So, and that was Iago, of course, who was, mistakenly referred to constantly by Othello as honest Iago. Turned out he was anything but. He was the real culprit. But let's get started, and here's Othello speaking. I have done the state some service, and they know it. No more of that. I pray you in your letters, when you shall speak of these unlucky deeds, speak of me as I am, nothing extenuate, nor set down aught in malice. Then must you speak of one that loved not wisely, but too well, of one not easily jealous, but being wrought, perplexed to the extreme, of one whose hand, like that of the based Indian, threw away a pearl richer than all of his tribe, of one whose subdued eyes, albeit unused to the melting mood, drop tears as vast as the Arabian seas, as the Arabian trees with their medicinal gum. Set you down this, and say besides, that in Aleppo once, where a malignant and turbaned Turk beat a Venetian and traduced the state, I took by the throat that circumcised dog and smote him thus. That's Act 5, Scene 2 from Othello. And he's given his final testimony to those witnesses who are bearing witness to his tragic end, and he wants to set the record straight, not trying to shift any blame, but also wanting to put things in perspective. So, as we speak, getting back to his relevance to us today, as we speak right now, the great actor, as I pointed out in my last video, the great actor Denzel Washington is on Broadway for a very short run, but a very powerful run in which the play is breaking all type of ticket sales for a Broadway opening. Never has a Broadway play opened with such great fanfare as far as the sales show. So that's great, and this is being promoted. Of course, it's his very last stage performance as a professional actor, and it's really significant, I think, that he's going out in this way. It's always fascinated me that the character and the role of Othello has always been the most prized and esteemed role that a so-called black actor in the English-speaking world could aspire to. And this is a tradition that goes all the way back to the Victorian period, in which the great legendary Ira Aldrich, an American actor from New York, actually went to England to make his name and fame there as an actor, and he most famously is associated with the role of Othello, even though he played many other great roles and Shakespearean roles and others, and he became a absolute giant throughout not only England but all of Europe and Poland, Eastern Europe. I mean, he was just the greatest actor of his time. And so he started that in the 19th century Victorian period, and that tradition continues to this day. When the great Paul Robeson, before I was born, back in the 40s, I believe, 1940s, 30s, he played the role and became so synonymous and famous with the role that he became known as the American Othello. Um, he When he played the role on Broadway, it broke records as well as the longest running Broadway play of its time, up until its time. That means no other play before it had lasted as long on Broadway, and I'm sure that record has been broken since. I can't be absolutely sure of that, but I can think of some plays that might have beat that, but for that time, it was a history maker. And lastly, I remember as a young boy, all of the fanfare surrounding the great late, he just passed away last year, James Earl Jones. He played the role back in the 70s, and he just became the hottest actor in of his time, a stage actor. And I mean, this was around the time that he also gained fame for playing uh, Jim Jeffries, a character that was based on the legendary boxing champion, the first so-called black heavyweight boxing champion, Jack Johnson. And it was called The Great White Hope, and won Tony Awards. He won Tony Awards for both of those performances. And he also, just to add to it, put the cherry on top, he also played Paul Robeson in a one-man show that was pretty good. I mean, that was pretty classical. It might not have done quite as well as the other two, but it just cemented his status and his legacy as the premier actor of that time. So yeah, and I mentioned, of course, last time that Lawrence Fishburne did an excellent job playing Othello in the movie back in 1995, and he did a great job. It didn't break any records. It probably barely broke even, but he did an excellent job, and that critical acclaim that he received for that just cemented his role as a serious premier actor, real actor. So, yeah, so that tradition of our best and brightest actors playing that role is very interesting to me, because um, here you have a character who, in the title of the story, as well as just overkillingly throughout the story, is being referred to and emphasized his identity as a Moor. And yet you have all of these so-called black actors who are, who attain their height by playing that role. So, and we know that prior to slavery, in the Western Hemisphere, prior to slavery, um, there was no identity as black or Negro, colored, or all of the African American, all of the different brands that have been uh, placed upon our people. That did not exist back then. So maybe this character and these great noble actors have there's a message in that, identity lost, identity found connection, or as J.A. Rogers, the great historian, once said, the Negro as a Moor. You know, so we're gonna continue with to look at the significance of Othello in historical context, back at the time that it was written by Shakespeare in the Elizabethan era, which was a part of the European Renaissance, the English Renaissance period, and also the time of Othello, the story itself taking place at the time when Venice was at war with with the Ottoman Turks, and that's the setting for the story itself. But of course, in England at the time that Shakespeare wrote the play, England and the Empire or Sultan of Morocco, they were allies at that time. So um, they were allies at that time. They had actually even had a treaty of peace and friendship between them, which is kind of like a precursor to the later treaty with the Sultan of Morocco and America, when America declared its independence. So so the idea of a Moor and the description of a Moor that's given throughout of Othello as a Moor is very clear that he's not describing someone who is of any Caucasoid stock or appearance. It's very clear that he's talking about a so-called black person. But now, like I said, the story takes place at a time in world history in which there is a, clash of civilizations. For the most part, there's a clash of civilizations. There's the decline of Islamic Moorish power in the world, and there's a simultaneous ascension of European Christendom, not only in the continent that we know today as Europe, but also in the ever expanding conquest of the New World that started with Christopher Columbus's exploration or mission of discovery in 1492. So all of this is going on as a backdrop to Othello, and I think the personality of Othello is really reflective of this dichotomy. Uh, like I said last time, at the start of the story, it's very clear that this is a great man, a man who has exceptional prowess on the battlefield. He has a very sterling reputation in his society, and just everything that's excellent, that's generally considered excellent and noble. He has those qualities, but immediately upon seeing him celebrated by his soldiers, by the Venetian elite, and we see him celebrated and the public at large, we also see that he does suffer from dislocation. He has the dislocation, meaning that he's a man who is very much uprooted from his own people, his own culture, his own excellent identity. He's been separated from that, and he is one who is like a fish out of water, desperately trying to adapt and embrace his new environment. And as a result of that, he ends up sacrificing some of his own identity and losing it, and you know um, just taking on a type of inferiority complex, very real inferiority complex, which I believe is the root of his problem, even more so than what Iago was able to do to him. Iago, I don't think, would have been successful because Othello clearly wasn't a dumb man, but he was vulnerable. And I don't think Iago would have been able to do to him what he did had he been grounded and rooted in his identity. He would have, squashed all of the misinformation and seen through it, and not put so much trust in someone, that clearly wanted to destiny swap with him. There was some confusion there. So we see that immediately when he returns from the war victorious against the Turks, Desdemona is just eager to be around him, to hear him tell his stories of his feats on the battlefield, and just hanging on his every word and grabbing onto his powerful arms and just really being thoroughly impressed with him. So and of course everybody in the society, clearly everybody in the society was not happy about Othello. There was always those few, especially those who aspired to be in such a position as himself. There was a lot of, low-key, deceptive hatred going on and a desire to checkmate him and destiny swap with him. And when I say checkmate, I mean actually eliminate him. So, the story takes place, like I said, at a time that there's a real paradigm shift in the world, in world culture and civilization. And it seems like the character Othello is very much at the center of that. He's centrally placed at this crossroads. And I just will say that, this becomes very clear if you have any doubt that that this is connected, and if you have any doubt that this is connected to our people here and our own collective fall from grace, where we were once a people that historically are connected to those who reigned supreme in the world in previous times, and then have fallen from grace into a state of slavery, into a state of permanent underclass, into a state of lowest esteemed on the totem pole. So if you have, this is very clear. I think it is that when he taught, when you could see Othello's own inferiority complex early on, when he talks to Desdemona, he talks about the vices of his own blood. When he refers to his own shortcomings, he attributes it to the vices of his own blood, meaning that his Moorish ancestor, his Moorish DNA is somehow tainted and prone to be less than pure. And he also is constantly being deferential to the elites in the society, and this allows some of them who have ill intentions, to take advantage of his graciousness and to exploit his lack of confidence. So yeah, I'll just lastly say that, like I said before, that his fall from grace, his ultimate demise, really reflects historically what has happened to us as a people here, where there is a loss of identity, there is a self-hate, a element of self-hate and other things that may not always be conscious, but subconsciously has led to us not being all that we can be, and not working together in the ways that we should. And that kind of capsulizes the whole metaphorical significance. That's a reflection of Othello's own struggle with his higher and lower self. So, yes, that is my take on Othello, and I hope that it has been of some benefit. And I'll refer once again to Dr. Jose V. Pimienta Bay's book, The Children of Othello in the New World, a very good history book that talks about the Moors, because the Moors, which is emphasized in the title of Othello and throughout the drama, but our people and people in general, and especially here in America, know very little about the Moors. And if you ask them to name you a significant Moor, they would not be able to tell you anything other than possibly Othello, who is not a actual historical figure, even though he may have been based on one or maybe a composite of several others. But they that's the only Moorish reference that most of us have. And even though the Moors had contributed so much to our modern world, beginning with the whole exploration of the New World, which took place immediately after the Moors had, after the golden age of the Moorish civilization in 1492, when they were defeated by the reconquering church. They were replaced, and it seemed like they were erased as well. So, the Moors brought so much to Spain and by way of the Iberian Peninsula to all of Europe, including the universities, that the oldest universities like Oxford and stuff, these are all directly started from a Moorish foundation. And Dr. Jose V. Pimienta Bay became first noted to me when he wrote about the educational contribution and legacy of the Moors in Europe. And we'll see that all of the great, outstanding aspects of education came from the Moors in Europe. Also agriculture, hygiene, which was something almost non-existent in Europe at that time. Literacy, you name it. Even music and leisurely activities. All of this was brought about by the Moors. Medicine, all of this was brought about by the Moors. Yet our school systems, our public school systems especially, teach us nothing about the Moors, even though it was the Moorish light that gave birth to the European Renaissance and brought Europe out of the Dark Ages. And of course, like I said, that resulted in the conquest of not only Europe, but pretty much the entire world and the New World where we are today. So, and we know that slavery became a major foundation for the power of the New World and America. So without any further ado, thank you again. And I hope you've gotten something out of this. And I look forward to exploring many other aspects of our heritage and identity. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.